Welcome to your Rally Point podcast. Organizations need a reason to exist, and people need a reason to care, but none of it matters if you can't connect the two. This podcast is where nonprofits, advocacy groups, and mission-driven organizations discover their rallying point. It is your go-to resource for mobilizing support, building authentic connections, and driving real results. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's rally together to create the impact you're meant to make. This is your Rally Point podcast, brought to you by rallycorp.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on what time you're listening to this. I am James with your Rally Point podcast, and I am here with Jack today. Hey, Jack.
Howdy.
I thought a new intro would be good. New way to say hello.
That's right. And it covers all dates and all times.
That's right. Yeah, and if you've watched The Truman Show, you'd appreciate it.
That's a great movie. If you haven't seen Jim Carrey in a serious role, that's the way to go.
That's the way to go. That's right. That's fun. All right. Well, hey, today we've got a fun topic. It's going to be a little bit more advanced. But don't worry. Jack is here to make it simple. RCS.
Yeah.
What the heck is RCS, and why are all the kids talking about it?
That's right.
For the last 20 years. I'm just
That's right. It's an interesting thing. There was a big blitz on this in the mainstream news.
Yep.
About this new communication style that we're going to use for texting. And there was RBM terminology and RCS terminology. I'll tell you this, the telecommunications industry are masters at using acronyms that are so confusing. There's hundreds of them out there.
LOL.
And these are one of them.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So let's talk about RCS. What is it and why do people care? Especially if they're, maybe a nonprofit or something like that. So why do people care about RCS?
Yeah. So, and this applies to, will be really important for nonprofits and maybe small businesses and others that might use texting to engage with customers, supporters, volunteers, and things like that. So it matters, but I'm going to talk about RCS in general first, and why and what it is and what the buzz is all about. Okay. So on our devices over the years, there's two camps. I'm holding up my Android. James, you probably have an iPhone. So James has an iPhone and I have an Android. And if I were to make a video with my phone of me being goofy and send it to James, for all these years, the video comes through horribly.
Yep.
Unless I have an iPhone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something called iMessage. And if you're an iPhone user, you may not even know you have this.
Mm-hmm.
But what you do know is you can send great messages back and forth between you and another iPhone user.
Yeah.
And so RCS, well, why does RCS kind of change that? Well, everybody got together and said, everybody being the world of telecommunications carriers, and then also AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile, they all got together and said, it's too bad that the iPhone users and the Android users couldn't actually communicate together. I know we're going to make this new communication happen, and that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it just takes forever. So
it does.
So 10 years ago, I was part of the team at AT&T that started doing this concept, right? Working this concept. And so this year, a few months ago, there was this big announcement. RCS is now available, blah, blah, blah. And everybody was so confused.
The new iPhone.
Right. And what it means minimally to all of us, and I'm talking about just everybody that has a phone, is that if there's a way to download the RCS functionality for your particular provider. And now I can send a funny emoji or a great video to James, and he can play it from my Android to his device. Okay, those are the basics. So that's
and there's read receipts, so that I read it potentially.
Right. Yeah, so
if I haven't turned that off.
Exactly. So the same kind of functionality was from iPhone user to iPhone user, and for me, Android to Android user. Now we can talk together, and it actually works. And so at its base level, RCS is actually probably already impacting all of you who have phones today and Android, friends with Android and stuff like that. So but this is just the very baby steps of RCS. What's the bigger picture of RCS? Well, and so RCS means rich communication services. And of course it's complicated. So what does that mean, right? And there's something called RBM, which is rich business messaging. Yep. They're both the same thing. Don't let the terms confuse you. RCS now is kind of known as this consumer thing that I just talked about. And rich business messaging is a little bit centered around businesses using these same tools to communicate to people, customers. So what's that mean for like the businesses and the nonprofits and all of that? Well, here's what it means. The original vision is to engage people in a much different way. So where today we send a link to someone who might want to be a supporter or sign up for summer camp for a Boys and Girls Club, might get a web link, which we do all day long. Instead, you might get a mobilized, actionable sign-up form actually within messaging itself.
That's
so you
right.
get a ding, you get a text message, but it's a form that's actually active on the device. So you can maybe click and fill the form out right there. You never have to leave texting to go fill a form out. You never have to leave texting maybe to buy that extra large blue t-shirt. You can just, they call them carousels or something of the future, right? You can say, oh, I don't want that summer camp. I want this one. And it'll be a little carousel that actually rotates in your texting. So it's this merge of mobile apps, right? That you might see on a website and text messaging. That's probably the best way I can say it.
It kind of turns your text messaging app into feels like a little mini browser.
It does.
So, like if you have challenges now with texting a link to people and you're like, whoa, I can track the link click, which is awesome. That's amazing. That is so cool. That's 2024 at its best, right? But imagine a world in which you don't even have to worry about whether they click on it because they can fill it out right inside the conversational thread.
Yes, exactly. Imagine that. They can pick a...
Reducing barriers.
Right. And we talked about it in the last podcast, reducing barriers to X, right? To a donation, to a staff volunteer to sign up for sorting food on Saturday.
Yeah.
Or sending out a message to those that nonprofits help. Okay. Here's a link for a dental clinic. Not a link, but a button. We call them jelly beans, right?
Yeah.
A little oval clickable thing actually in text. Can you imagine? Or a movable map. Like here's a picture of the campus or whatever it might be, or our location, and it comes through on a Google map that's actually actionable, right? You move it around.
Yeah.
All of that is coming, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with website apps and mobilized like websites versus getting a message with RCS capability. It's going to be interesting because I don't think we'll ever leave our text messaging application.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can do all that there, get a message, order a blue t-shirt, schedule our kids' summer camp for the Boys and Girls Club.
And that's been some of why it's been so, I don't want to say divisive, that's too strong of a word, but so strong opinions because there's a camp of people that are like SMS for the win. It's always here. It will always be here. It ain't going anywhere. It's universal. It's cross-platform. It's on every phone. Grandma does it. My kid does it. Everybody does it, right? And then there's a camp of MMS. Well, yeah, but, if you can do it in a video, that's even better, right? And true. Yeah, I get it. I love both are true. But what is also true is this RCS of like, hey, these carriers and these providers, Android, are tired of, for example, are losing customers to a different platform because all of us are tired of getting that green text message in a group from someone, Jack.
Yeah.
And then when you like or love one of my images, it says, Jack, like this image. It doesn't show the little icon or emoji on top of it, right?
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time. So that's changing. And all that sounds fun and cute and good. But here's where an application for a nonprofit, I think it's gorgeous. And that's if I can get a text message with a carousel, and that carousel has a swipe right function feature, and there's one puppy, two puppies, three puppies, and it's 25, 50, 75, so you want to sponsor one puppy, two puppy, three puppies, and you just click the thing, fill out a form, triggers a text message. Now you're, completes the purchase, if you would, or the donation. So it's an interactive way to make your text messages engaging, make them informative, give people a path to the $75 option when previously they would have defaulted to 25. Now, could you have done it on a website? Yeah, of course, you ought to, but it's very interactive. Kind of this swiping mindset that we're already used to, or this action that we're already used to. And it's very rich. Yeah. Hence the word rich.
What do we call this in website terms? Below the crease or whatever they call that?
Below the fold.
Below the fold, right? And if you look at our website and a lot of websites, we like to have these bright, large images and things, but oftentimes there's a lot of information below the fold.
Yeah.
And I think when we start to see RCS, fully deployed for businesses and nonprofits, I think that it's going to blow all of what you knew in interaction for people, supporters, for example, or volunteers, whatever. It's going to be a new way of interacting with information from a business or nonprofit. And it'll change the way. What you said is we'll say that nonprofits are quite conservative, is a fair way to say this.
Yeah.
And I will say that the industry is divided. Like we have this super stable SMS, MMS, everybody gets it, up and down, round and round, everybody knows it. And then just like an adoption of new technology, it's got to be seamless, the transition between the two. And so I think what we'll see in the industry for companies like ours is kind of this changeover and what we call fallback, right? So if someone doesn't have the RCS kind of application updated on their iPhone,
grades clean,
we fall back to SMS and MMS. So I don't really think that this type of new text messaging, the RCS, I don't think it's going to be either or. I think that there's going to be systems where if someone, it detects if they don't have RCS communication in their text inbox, updated, then we'll just fall back to an SMS. And so I don't want people to get nervous or get the idea that everybody's going to be forced to do one or forced to do this new thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is interesting. I will say that another aspect of this for nonprofits is that we, when our clients have a donation call to action, we use a web link to lead them back to a place where they have all of the secure transaction, whether it's Classy or Fundraise Up or Virtuous or whatever their, I donate, whatever it is. We send donors from a text message over to their donation platform where it's secure. And one of the barriers that is supposed to be, eliminated with RCS is the fact that it has security within it. And, today we don't do that because secure transactions happen through those other donation tools and things like that. So in the future, imagine how easy it will be to, like you said, James, to have a carousel, images, videos, and a way to securely transact the donation right there. Yeah. I mean, talk about dropping barriers. I mean,
I don't want to get too technical because I'm not very technical, but I'll say this. What's described to me is that with text messaging, because you're bouncing a signal across towers and outer space and between devices and different networks, because when I text you, Jack, I don't know what you could be on Cricket Wireless, you could be on Verizon, you could be on T-Mobile. I don't know, right?
42 carriers in the United States.
42 carriers in the United States. So you're bouncing from one network to the next and from one device to the next. You could have an old phone. You could have a new phone. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I just want to send you a message. Therefore, it's short and it's simple, right? It can't be, therefore, encrypted. Like there's no way to encrypt. So if you're familiar with donations or purchasing or anything, there's an HTTPS. You can look for that little symbol in your browser that says this is a secure website. Your information is going to not just be, bounced around the world and everybody's going to see it, right? Which is why we don't text credit card numbers. Like, don't do it. Don't do that.
Or passwords or logins.
Passwords or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so the idea here is like, how can the carriers, the phones, the providers get together and form a browser kind of feel around the device, right? And we see this a lot of times, Jack, with like a Telegraph. Is it Telegram? Telegraph.
It's Telegram. They have Telegram. They have WhatsApp.
Signal, WhatsApp. Yeah. I use WhatsApp. Use a little bit of Signal. I've seen Telegram. There's some others like that. So Facebook Messenger, right? I have an uncle. I love him. He only messaged me through Facebook Messenger. I took it off my phone. I had to add it back because I kept like
my in-laws. That's my in-laws.
I'm like, what are you sending me? Is this a picture of some kind of a? Anyway, I won't say it, but one of those prayer chains, I think, is what he likes to send me. But that's a different conversation for a different day. And then every now and then it's something important, like, hey, I got an update on my doctor's visit. So I don't want to miss it. But the point is those tools have built into where everybody has a common experience. It can be encrypted. You can have a form inside of it. It's a different feel. And RCS, as I understand you, Jack, is just looking to move that to the common phone or to the standard phone across multiple networks. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. If you think about, like, everybody has text messaging on their phone. So if you can imagine like not having a friend on Instagram messaging and then a friend over here and a friend over here, we go to those apps because they have different capabilities, right?
Yeah.
I like the way Instagram does it. Yeah. Facebook, so people have their preference, right? The idea is to take some of those things that we all love about the messaging apps that we have and actually fold them into this ubiquitous, this tool that everybody has on their phones, right? You go to the store, you go to the AT&T store, you buy your new iPhone, here it is. All that functionality, if we ever have friends that be like, I don't text, right? Because it's kind of like just letters and maybe a GIF here and there, right?
Yeah.
And it's not very engaging. So you do get people to do that. Those are the people that send you Facebook messages, right?
Yeah.
So if you can imagine kind of pulling together the 280 million people that have mobile phones, or I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
Pulling them together, kind of consolidating back into where it used to all occur before Facebook and everything else, right? So that's kind of the idea. Now, when's this coming?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when? Tomorrow?
Well,
what are you doing tomorrow?
we've been talking about this in the deep technical text experts have been talking about this for 12 years or something like that. It's coming. Well, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile control communication to every American. Those are the four main carriers. And then if you've got Lively and Shutter or all these other little carriers that you buy at 7-Eleven or whatever, all of those use those four anyway, right? So those four have to get together and agree on all these different things. And you know what happens? Lawyers and new phones, and nobody wants to play. And then you got Android in there and Apple.
Infrastructural cost.
Yeah. So you got all this kind of noise and bureaucracy and, FCC and all these protocols and everything else. So what's that mean for our customers, right? Or people that want to use this for their business or their nonprofit? It's going to be a bit. There has to be just kind of more agreements put in place.
Yeah.
There has to be an understanding of like today, like when our customers send a text message, there's a cost to it. Every time you send a text message to a person, that text message is like an event, right? We know you sent the text and there's a little cost to that. And that's the industry. Well, when you have a conversation with somebody and you're like a major gift person and you're going back and forth about the gala, like how does that work out? Right? Is it you're having a conversation maybe over multiple days, but it's kind of this web experience. And so the industry really hasn't figured out like, what's this cost and how do we work that out? And so here's my prediction. I think it's going to be probably 12 months before it's meaningful for a company like Rally and our customers and the nonprofit organizations. So hang in there. I think that we'll be producing more we'll be sending more information out as it gets more serious, but I can't wait.
Yeah.
And knowing James and our development team here, we're going to be all over it. Right, James?
Yeah, we are. I like to say we're RCS ready.
Yes, we are.
We've tested some of the connections to the carriers. We've sent some messages and as much as we could, and got it as far. It's just it's not as easy as flipping a switch and a flip, but we'll be at it, so it'll be fun. Yeah, and I think a lot of what we want to do is educate the market to say, hey, okay, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let's talk about fallback. Let's talk about making sure the reach is there. Let's make sure that we have good ideas or good strategies in place to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck, and not just jump on a bandwagon for bandwagon's sake. But I know this, Jack, when we rolled out MMS, and this was years ago, we saw a huge surge in click-throughs, what we call click-throughs, but people actually engaging with the content. People love getting the videos. And we thought, well, let's put a button on the video. Like, why play a video if it doesn't have a button on it, right? I have the button pop up on the video while it's playing. Don't say, like, look at the link below, right? And because, a lot of people were using, and I love YouTube. I'm all over YouTube. I think it's great. But YouTube, you can add two kinds of buttons to your video. Subscribe to the channel or watch another video, because people on YouTube can't leave YouTube. It's like Hotel California. You can check out, but you can't leave. It's not going anywhere. Right. So YouTube is not incentivized to put buttons on their videos to take people off of youtube.com. They want to keep you in the play experience, into that dopamine hit of the next video. So what we have done is add the button to MMS. And that was game changer for us. Like the amount of click-throughs and engagement and, being able to take people straight from a video to a donation page with one click was awesome. And I expect that RCS in time will do the same. We've got to iron out all those little wrinkles and make sure that we're well ahead of it. So we'll be there for you and ready when they are, right?
I on the MMS thing, I talked to a nonprofit this week, and they were using a text provider that didn't offer MMS.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just SMS. I didn't think there was people out there, but evidently there's actually quite a few,
Sure.
people who do texting like we do, but they actually don't even offer like MMS has been something around for years.
For a while.
But and there were some bigger names that I had heard, and I was pretty shocked by that. I mean, we do 1,600 character length.
Yeah.
You can the same email that you write. Let's just repurpose that text copy, that email copy, and put it right into MMS.
And some of it's a function of cost. I talked to a customer, I don't know, it's been several weeks now, but they're like, James, please make sure that none of our users could do MMS because, you got 5 million people on your list. That's expensive, right? So, and I'm like, well, hey, what if we did this, right? So we have a technical solution for that. That doesn't have to be painful, right? So, so the idea is how do we get it efficient? But I don't care if you're sending a text message to 100 people or 100,000 people. It comes down to the success of that, whether it was worth the time, money, and effort. And obviously, the more rich, the more beautiful, the more engaging, the better the content. Well worth it. So,
yeah, for sure.
It's not a concern for long.
If you go out and look at some of my LinkedIn stuff on RCS, it's gone back and forth over the years. And I'll just say I'm excited for it because it offers, in our last episode, we talked about tools and widgets and surrounding our text platform with some of these, with like 7 different tools to get supporters to become text followers.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
And simply put, with RCS, some of those tools just get some of these tools to move people to donation pages and things that the barriers are out, right? The tools start to exist within the same, the same text message, right? Which is going to be a game changer, I think. And so I'm really, really excited. I want it to get here. I don't want to wait 12 months, but I think my prediction is probably going to come pretty close. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a podcast where I'm wrong, but
we'll be ready. And if any of our customers want to jump in and join the short list, there's a list that we're keeping of people that want to try it out. What we're doing for those organizations that we're building their little carousels for them, we're appifying, if you would, a little tiny web experience for them so that they can say, hey, what would it look like for us to offer 2 or 3 donation options right inside the text message, where it's like those little jelly beans. I like the jelly bean idea, but it's a red, yellow, blue, boom, boom, boom. And they just click the one they want, and it takes it right off their credit card, seamless checkout. And it's a simple one-touch donation. So those are the kinds of things that I think we're getting really close to, and it is exciting. So when the time is right, we'll flip it on for the masses, but everybody else can just let us know they want to join that short list.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right, Jack. Well, let's leave everybody today with an encouraging word. We're heading into the weekend, like we said at the onset. Thank God it's Friday. So what are you doing this weekend? Anything exciting?
Well, I will tell you, we are giving back a little bit. We've got some family members that live locally. And so on Saturday, we're spending time with one set of the family, helping them do some things. And on Sunday, it's the other set. And then I think on the evening, we're hoping that the weather turns around here in Seattle so we can actually spend some time outside around the campfire with friends.
Yep. That'll be beautiful. Well, that's great. In my household, the kids are headed to a ski camp this weekend with a group that they're part of. So that leaves the wife and I home alone. So it's either going to be an amazing romantic weekend or we'll find something to argue about. I'll let you know on Monday.
Hey, that's mine too, right? Been married 30 years. That's
exactly.
the way it goes.
I'm coming up on 30 years myself. So I'm right there with you. It's all good. Married my college sweetheart. So we still have a good time. All right, my friend. Well, hey, thanks everybody. And as far as encouraging our audience, I'd encourage them to text coach to 24365. There's a lot to know when it comes to text messaging compliance. These like that last episode, we talked about widgets, getting people to sign up, RCS. It's just, you've got enough to worry about. You just love on people and let these tech heads deal with the rest of it. You do what you do, whether it's environmental, love on, the environmental stuff. Oh, by the way, Jack, my daughter came home last night and informed me she's now an environmentalist. So
we all like the earth.
Yeah, that's right. She sat through a couple of late night college classes and they were watching some videos and she goes, that's it. We're not doing this anymore. So I got to go get the list of what we're not doing anymore. So environment, animals, children, food, people, whatever your cause, whatever your purpose, or if you're for profit, maybe a mission-driven organization that's about culture and building sustainable product for sustainable people and, taking care of your employees. So whatever it is that you're into, you do that well. That's your mission. We'll help you meet people in the middle and move them to act. That's your rally point. Text coach to 24365 if you'd like a weekly coaching on nonprofit text messaging. I'm James at your Rally Point podcast. Have a great day.